everything's easily traced back to you. If you're just looking for the ability to disappear for a day or two because you believe you need that solitude to de-stress and perhaps bond with a child and make a dream of theirs come true for a few minutes, that sort of explains why you would take the dramatic steps of sort of staging a kidnapping. But I can tell you this, any member of law enforcement who's experienced, anybody who's made their living in the world of criminal prosecution or criminal defense, the story from the get-go really didn't pass the smell test or the laugh test. Not that it wasn't taken seriously, it had to be via the Amber Alert, but veteran people in the law enforcement community, I think from the beginning would all agree, we had to react, we had to investigate, but we knew something wasn't right from the beginning.
If you are just joining us, we are speaking with Louis Busico, who is the attorney for Bonnie Sweeten. She is the so-called kidnapping hoax mom. You'll recall that in early May or sometime in May, there is the allegation that she actually faked her own kidnapping, told police that she and her daughter were being held in the trunk of a car, had been abducted by 2 black men. She was later found, along with her daughter, alive and well. Thankfully, in Disney World, she is now facing misdemeanor charges, but there are other charges that may be coming her way as well. I'm sure that you have questions or comments about this case, so if you'd like to tell me what you think, whether you feel sympathy or anger at her, and what you think the appropriate punishment would be for these alleged crimes, you can go ahead and email me. I am interested in knowing what your opinion is, and I'd also like to know if you have some sympathy or, as Lou pointed out, empathy for her because of the situation she found herself in. A couple of ways that you can communicate with us. You can log on to csnphilly.com and then put in "It's Your Call" or IYC under the search title. That'll take you to my webpage where you can leave me a comment. You can also email me directly here at the studio. That's TCN_IYC@cable.comcast.com. And you can find us on Facebook, MySpace, or YouTube. And Lou, I do have to admit that immediately after this call was made and it became public knowledge that there was a search on for this woman and her 9-year-old daughter, that the pages of Facebook just literally jumped with people asking for help, giving descriptions of the alleged abductor's car, people asking for prayers, everything that they could possibly do to help this woman. Conversely, about 12 hours later, when the news was announced that she had been found alive and well in Disney World, that reaction was virulent in the opposite direction. Why do you think this particular case did evoke so many emotions in so many people, not only in this area, but nationwide?
Well, there are a couple elements here that I think always tug on a heartstring or hit a nerve. One of them would be the potential harm to a child. I mean, we all as a society take great lengths, and we've passed very, very strict laws to make sure our children are always safe and those who bring harm to them are severely and swiftly brought to justice. So that's one component. And the second component, another obvious component, would be the racial aspect of the call. That clearly made people very uncomfortable.
And that's what I wanted to touch on, because the fact that she did allege that 2 black men had kidnapped her and Julia and had them captive in the trunk of a car, that one fact seemed to really touch people more so than anything else. Yes, a child was involved, but when it was later learned that this was a hoax and that 2 black men had apparently been fingered who really had nothing to do with it, that seemed to bring up components of racial tensions, and that, I think, brought out more emotion in people than perhaps anything else.
Well, listen, she certainly doesn't get an A for originality. Unfortunately, she brought to the forefront an ugly story that had a racial component.
A stereotype.
There's no doubt. And for that, she is deeply sorry. I mean, we'd all like to believe in this country in 2009, with the current occupant of the Oval Office, we're way beyond that. The reality is...
Did she think that through, or was that a spur of the moment when she was on the phone kind of thought?
To sound like a lawyer, it was both. And here's what I mean by that. At the time the call was made, she was driving in an area on her cell phone where she believed there were cameras monitoring traffic. She also knew, as most people know, that a phone has either a GPS or some type of device that can make the phone be tracked from where the call came, or at least generally speaking. At the time of the call, unfortunately and coincidentally, there were 2 elderly African-American gentlemen in a dark sedan in front of her. in order to give the call a somewhat ring of truth, if you will, she thought if the camera ever could ascertain my position, at least there will be a sedan close to where I am at, and ironically occupied by two African-American gentlemen.
So you're telling us that when she made that call, had there been two 20-something white men in a car in front of her, she may very well have used them as
Yes, to confirm the location. It was in no way, shape, or form, and I welcome anyone to ask about Bonnie in terms of what her reputation is.
It was in no way racist.
Absolutely not. And she apologizes profusely that people would take it that way, but she understands why they would.
What is the state of her mind now?
Well, I didn't know her before this case. I have met many, many people who have. When I first met her about 2 weeks ago, when she was transported back from Florida, she was distraught, she was depressed, she had been through the middle of a court proceeding in Florida, an airplane ride back to Philadelphia, helicopters in the sky. She has progressed nicely. She is receiving the treatment that one needs, having done what she did in terms of making these calls and leaving the state. And she's receiving the treatment that she needs to ensure that the next time she's encountered with any type of stressful situation, she can respond in a different fashion.
You said that you did not know her prior to this. May I inquire as to how you became the attorney of record, one representing her?
Sure. My name was given to her by several sources, former clients and other attorneys with whom I work. They provided her family with my name, and when we met, Bonnie and I clicked and hit it off and viewed the situation the same way, and we're on the same page as to how it should resolve.
How do you think it should be resolved?
Stay tuned. And what I mean by that is it's really premature to say that. You know, certain things need to happen both on the law enforcement side of the equation and my side of the equation. So that's really all I want to say about that.
If there was a message that you wanted to deliver to the people who are watching this show about Bonnie Sweeten and about how she feels about the situation, what might it be?
Well, the message would be the message for any high-profile case, and that is don't assume anything. Don't draw a conclusion until you've learned everything about the situation. Once you know everything, whatever conclusion or opinion you may form, you have an absolute right to do that. But don't view her as a danger to people. Please don't view her as a lunatic or some, crazed suburban mom who just can't deal with life. View her as a human being with the same frailties and faults and weaknesses that we all have, and give her a little benefit of the doubt.
On that note, Louis Busico, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Best wishes to the entire family and everyone who is affected by this situation. We do have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will hear the prosecution side of the story and find out what one person thinks should happen to Bonnie Sweeten. Stay with us.
Lynn Doyle's jewelry provided by David Craig Diamonds and Fine Jewelry, Newtown, Pennsylvania.